Hello, everyone. Sit on a bolster or some elevated prop. Cross your shins, one in front of the other. Place your hands on your thighs, press your hands down, lift your ribs up. Take a nice deep breath in, drop the shoulders, keep the ribs lifted. Keep your feet flexed so your thighs are active. There's some active pushing down of the leg, not of the knee, but of the foot and of the hips. So your spine is encouraged up. Take another deep breath, keeping the legs. Feel the lift, feel the energy, action of the legs. Squeeze your back ribs in, stretch your side rib forward, and lift your front rib up as you exhale. And just let your arms hang. Chin slightly lifted and let your eyes close. Take a few minutes as you sit here, my friends. Connect with your breath, connect with your body. There's a lot to learn in yoga. Not because yoga is an incredibly complex thing, but in reality, yoga is just a way to learn about the complexity of ourselves. If one yoga pose worked the same on every person, there would be no variations. The first triangle pose that was ever done would still be done the same way today, but it's not. I remember hearing the stories of when Mr. Angar remembered how triangle, changed triangle pose, and now the world does it mostly like that. And then the variations with blocks and straps and everything else gets added. Because remember, when you're sitting here on your mat, you're not just really learning the yoga poses. You're learning you. You're using yoga to learn about yourself and to guide yourself and to offer yourself support and healing and strength and all of these things. But you're learning about you, what you can do, how far you can go, how far you can grow. By getting into what's going on with you, not just in the moment, you're irritated, you got distracted, you're sick, you're hurt, you're happy, but to get in contact with you about really who you are, what you want, how you spend yourself. So as we go through the practice today, regardless of what poses we do or how long we hold them or the badness of the teacher's jokes, remember that you're here on your mat, not to just memorize a pose, but you're here to listen to you. You're here to connect to yourself, your life, and all your experiences, so your wisdom might actually give you more guidance tomorrow and the day after. So if you have a negative thought or feeling come up about what's going on inside your body, you get upset with yourself, remember that's language that you're practicing with yourself. You're telling yourself. I can always say, there's very, very few points where we would ever tell a child that they were bad or they were not good. We would encourage them, teach them, have compassion for them. Remember to do so for yourself, to offer kindness and language and support, a little bit of encouragement. Be aware of that. It's not that you can't do the yoga poses if they become difficult or hard. Because just by doing them, you're learning, but what you're doing is you're learning where the challenges are in yourself, and you get to make a choice to change them or not. Because some things aren't going to be changed. But that's a different talk. So my friends, with each deep breath in, slow breath out here in the space, and for just a moment of quiet, maybe with a dog making noise, connect to you. Make this a practice, not a yoga class, but a Ryan class, a Glenda class, a Rebecca class, a Chaya class, a Katie, a Margaret, and a Pratima class, a Tristan class, an Ein class. Because you're here learning about you. Bring your palms together at your chest, thumbs touching your sternum. Shoulders dropped away from the ears, elbows relaxed. Take a nice deep breath in. We'll shortly 3 times and begin. Om. Flex your feet. Om. Back ribs in, severed forward, front rib up. Om. Bow your head. Absolute the essence of yoga inside yourself. Bring your hands into your lap. Let your head rise, your eyes open. All right, so nice to see everybody in this nice kind of rainy Thursday here in Austin. All right, come to a standing position. Let's do a little bit of work. Let's warm the body up with a couple standing poses before we continue our seated work. Tuesdays, you know, we're leaving pretty much in the realm of Padmasana, full Padmasana. Now we're learning, we're taking it to some different directions, some different poses, but we still have to warm the body up. So from Tadasana, stretch both arms straight up, palms facing in. Urdhva for those of you that want to learn the names, as much as I can remember them. Take your right foot and take it back behind your, slide it back from its current position, not directly behind the left foot. And instead of stretching your heel down, keep your weight in your left foot, but turn the top of your right foot flat to the floor. Slide it back a little further, and then press the top of your right foot down into the floor as hard as you can, almost like you're going to give yourself a cramp in your arch. Good. Pick your ribs up higher, push down through the left leg, and suck your left hip to the right. So you're lifting yourself up, not off your low back, but off of the right hip or the left hip joint. Good. Pick your right foot up a little higher without bending the knees and just float the toes up off the floor for a moment. Good. Keep stretching the right leg back. So you feel that quad fire, you feel the hamstring engage, you feel your core muscles have to lift. Push down through your left foot, suck your left hip into the socket so you can lift up and feel the balance in your body. Feel the challenge of the muscles here, the right quad, the hamstring. Bring the top of your right foot back to the floor and push it down. Slide it back a little further. As you slide that foot back, so the quad has to stretch, you feel like the right side of the body has to lengthen. Your right hip has to drop down and back. Your left leg has to still be active, sucking the left hip in, so you have a stable piece to extend the leg off of. Take a nice deep breath. Slide your right foot back to the front. Slide your left foot back behind you. Take the top of the foot flat to the floor. Push the top of the foot down. Arms are still nice and tall. And so now your right leg has to be the point of lift. So suck your right hip into the socket so it feels like your left hip kind of leans out to the side a little. This will help release the muscles to move. Stretch your body and arms, ribs up taller. So you feel the core, you feel the back. And now float your left foot up off the floor without bending the knee. Bring the foot down, slide it back a little further so that left leg has to, that left side has to really extend into it. Good. Nice deep breath. Suck the right hip into the left. Strong body. And try to work on the extension of the left leg back, lifting the arms up away from the legs, but by pulling that right hip in, so your right leg is stable. Your right leg is that lifting point. So you get this muscular flexion in the right side, but the left side gets this long lengthening action where your left leg is, all for intents and purposes, hanging off the hip, but it's stretched away from you. Bring your arms down and turn your right. Feet together, Tadasana. Slide your left foot back into the same pose again. Yep. Slide the left foot back, tie the top of the left foot to the floor. Push through the arch in the heel down, like you're trying to, if I were to put my hand on the back of your heel and push it down into the floor, like I am for Tristan, so now her toes are screaming. Stretch both arms up again. Lift your left foot up off the floor. Now notice your left knee is behind your right knee. Keep your left knee behind your right knee. Bend your left knee and pull your foot towards your glutes. But you're pushing that left knee back still. You're still stretching that left leg away from the left hip. So your knees aren't touching. Move your left knee back, Pratima. There you go. So we're getting in those hamstrings. We're getting into the quads. Suck your right hip into the left. And now when you straighten your left leg, try not to let your left foot float down to the floor, but stretch it straight back any degree you can. So you're really creating a curve and an extension of the leg and back. Very Lord Naharaj-ish. You're starting to kind of use this as a warm-up extension. All right, bring your left foot down. Keep your arms up if you can. Suck your left hip into the right so you feel like you can, your body can lift off that left hip joint. Slide your right foot back. Take the top of the foot flat to the floor for a moment. Push through that heel. Feel that hamstring engage into the press down. Now, stretch your right leg back. Float the foot off the floor. Still pushing off the left leg, lifting off the left leg since it's the standing leg. Arms stretching away from the right leg, up and back. And now keeping your right knee back behind your left knee, bend your right knee and pull your right heel towards your glutes. Make sure your knees don't come back together. Pratima, move your knee back. There you go. This is about getting into that hip hamstring, that tight back stuff. We could do it by laying on the floor and picking our knees up and doing that backward bend, but the standing version of it really has some strengthening challenges. Keep your right knee behind your left knee, and now stretch the right leg back as far as you can, like you're going to touch the wall behind you, not letting it go down as much as you could, but really trying to extend it out. Rotate your right thigh internally so you don't get to the twist of the hip in the back. Take a breath. Bring the leg down, bring the arms down. Downward dog, please. Come on down to your hands and knees. Palms flat. Standard downward dog. We'll do the fancy part in it after you're up in it. Just get into your downward dog. Feel it out. Hips back, arms long, legs long. Glenda, walk your hands forward more. Get out of the compression. Keep walking your hands forward, Miss Glenda. Yeah, you're taller than you think. More. There you go. Very good. Good, Chaya. Good, everyone's good. All right. So here in downward dog, relax your neck, take your neck out of it. Make your palms press harder into the floor, not by the heel of the hand, but by the front part of the hand near the joints. So you feel your shoulders lift, your back lift. Everyone bend your knees and keep them softly bent and push your hips higher, not by pressing your head and chest down, but push through your hands. So you're pushing, you feel the shoulders engage, you feel your ribs engage, so you feel like you can move your hips back. Keep that length of the spine. Keep your heels off the floor. Keep your knees together. Bend your right knee, pulling your right heel towards your glute. So Gabriel would say 3 limbs have to do the work of 4. Did you lose your chest and your shoulders? I say so. I say yes. So you have to bring your chest bone back into it. So your arms and your shoulder and your hips are in a line without overworking your neck, Chaya. So bring your right foot down, bend your left knee. See what's different on this side. Take a minute with both feet on the floor. Get your balance, get your body leveled out. And then Bend that left knee, pull that heel to your glute. Notice how your knees come apart. Squeeze your thighs together. Squeeze your knees together. Now just bend the knee deeper. Woo, that's hard. Notice how one arm starts to work more than the other. You have to try and keep them both active to keep the twist from happening in your shoulders or working into the hips. Bring the foot down. Bend your right knee again. Oh, yes. Pull your right knee towards your chest now. Take your right ankle across the front of your left thigh now. And push your right hip, knee, thigh back. Just like you were doing tree pose with your legs, but in downward facing dog. What madness is this? Madness. Hopped up on orange juice and corgi pads. Now notice when you press that right ankle into your left thigh, pick your left hip up and your right hip and push the bottom of your right buttock up and back. Your shoulders will work more. Contrast. Take your right leg back down to the ground, reset. Still in downward dog if you can. Bend your left knee, keeping your thighs tight. Pull your left knee to the chest. Take your left ankle across your right thigh. Try to keep your shoulders and hands and back in line. Now push your left ankle into your right thigh and start to challenge yourself to use the muscle instead of the joint to lift your buttocks, especially the left one. Push the left ankle into the thigh better and stretch the bottom of your buttock back. Woo! This is challenging, huh? It offers a little different insight to the pose. It's very similar to our seated forward folds where we cross the ankle over the thigh. Chandrasasana. Just the downward dog inverted version. But what you get out of this is you get a very different muscle awareness in your hips and in your shoulders. Not sure. Yeah, she says. I'm sure some of you are too. Bring your leg down, come down onto the knees, sit back on the feet with the toes flat, top of the foot flat to the floor, sit back on your heels. Good, nice. Cross your right elbow over your left, squeezing the forearms together into eagle arms. Right elbow over left. Nice. Yeah, yeah. This isn't so bad. Push your top elbow into the bottom elbow. Push your bottom elbow up into the top elbow. And instead of keeping your spine rigid, like Miss Triss is right here, round your upper back. Slouch your chest down into it like your elbows were going to come down towards your belly button. But you're rounding your shoulders towards your elbows, elbows towards your belly button, and then lift your elbows up and stretch and widen the upper back muscle. So your chest rolls down, your elbows lift up any degree. Don't bow, but don't hinge at your hips. So Miss Chaya, sit upright. Pelvis up, round your back, slouch deer, slouch deeply. There you go, much better. It's not bowing, you're not bowing to the greater right now. All right, bring your chest up, switch arms, left arm over right. Push your top elbow down, push your bottom elbow up. Round the upper back. Get the width and stretch and the depth of muscle that's up there. And then once you've rounded your upper back down, you feel a stretch. Pick your elbows up away from that so you get more action. Take a nice deep breath or two. Bring your body up. Oh, take your arms out of it. Come forward for a moment and take your toes, turn them under and sit back on your heels again with your toes turned under. Just let your toes stretch out for a moment, a little bit of footwork, the classic things. Now, while you're here, there is stuff you can do. Keep your toes where they are, basically, but push your knees down into the floor. Pushing your knees down does not mean your body sits upright or your hips come up, but pushing your knees down is a way of, you have to learn to activate the thigh, create extension through the strength of the leg into the knee. It's very challenging. It makes your body want to fall and lean forward to do this normally. This is, if you actually look at pictures like Mr. Angar in a hero pose and things like that, he's very active pushing his knees down, but he's also super active in pulling his ribs up. Seated poses like this are not actually that passive in a sense when you get into the bigger work parts of it. The more you push your knees down, the more you're actually going to have to work to pick your chest up. And that's going to challenge through the hips and even through the feet and through your ankles. Tristan's having some ankles. All right, down dog. We're using down dog to prep for our seated poses instead of like seated forward folds, because this will help open the calf, relieve some calf to knee, calf to ankle stuff that can make certain poses very challenging, especially for those of us that sit a lot.
Hey, Dustin.
Yes, dear.
I have a lot of shoulder. I just don't like
What?
this pose. I have a lot of shoulder. It goes in my shoulder. It doesn't go in my neck. The Adho Mukha Svanasana.
Yeah. No. So yeah, it goes in your shoulders because your shoulders are tight. Do it. You'll be all right. You're also too narrow, Pratima. Don't forget to have proper length of your body in the pose. There. Nice. Don't push your head down as hard, Pratima. I want you to always look at your thumbs. Now work your back. Yeah, there you go. All right. Pick your right foot up. Pull your right knee to your chest. Take your right ankle across your left thigh again. Push your ankle into your thigh. Stretch the right buttock up and back. Now, walk your hands halfway towards your left foot. Keep your legs. Walk your hands towards your left foot. Woo! Ankle still across the thigh, Glinda. You're just walking your hands towards your feet. Now walk your hands closer to your foot, halfway of that. So your right heel's probably coming, or the left heel's coming close to the floor. Can you still pick the bottom of the right buttock up and back? Can you still press the left ankle or the right ankle into the left thigh? Walk your hands all the way back as much as you can to the full. Now you're in a standing forward fold. Legs are still very active. Keep walking your hands back, Linda. Stretch them legs out. Now we're in the legs, huh, Pratima? You all right, Trish? Walk your hands forward, back to downward dog. Keep your legs, keep your hips. Once you're in down dog, take your right foot out of the pose. Take your left ankle across right thigh. Pull your knee to your chest. Move it across. Left bottom buttock up and back. Right leg strong. Walk your hands halfway towards your foot. Work the lift of the hips, the extension. Stretch the right heel down a bit. And then walk your hands halfway of that point. And then when you're ready, on an exhale, walk your hands back as much as you need to get to a forward folder as best you can. What you're doing is you're teaching yourself to do forward folds that we would do sitting, but you're really getting some length in different areas of the body. Take a breath, walk your hands back out to down dog. Bring your left foot down. Bring your knees to the floor, sit back on your feet with your toes turned under. Turned under. You're stretching the toes, push down through your knees a bit. Get to rest here. That's not easy, walking your hands back to your feet and back from that position. It's not, but it really does emphasize how much we try to stretch our legs by shrugging our back and shoulder. So you get a chance to learn to let it go. Good job, everybody. You made it through it. Now keep your thighs together as best you can. Pick both knees up off the floor without your heels falling towards the floor. There you go. Use whatever you need to for balancing. You have a block, a chair, use a wall or couch nearby. Continue to pick the knees up. Good. Try to flex the thighs to pull the knees higher and towards your belly. There's a lot of muscle working in there. Somebody. Good. Bring the knees down. Move your block. Step your right foot forward in front of you, so your right foot is on the floor about 2 foot in front of your left knee. Like that. If you are tight in the hip and hamstring and groin, you might want to have a block nearby. You're going to take both hands to the floor on the inside of your right foot. So for some of us, this is already a stretch, and if this is, and you don't want to go any lower, by all means, you don't have to go any lower. But if you can, take both elbows down to the inside of the right foot. If you cannot reach both elbows down, feel free to put them on blocks or just even keep your arms straight and bend a little. Now, don't let your right leg hang to the side. Suck your right hip to the left and pull your right knee on its own strength. Flex the thigh, pull your right knee towards the armpit. Try to pick your back knee up off the floor, straightening the leg to challenge the groin without your hips coming up higher into the air. Good. Bring your left knee down. Bring your chest up, body up. Step your right knee back to the floor. Step your left foot forward. Once your left foot's in front of you, take both hands to the floor on the inside of your left foot. Don't do that. Why did you do that? Suck your left hip to the right, so you're using the glute muscle to pull the bone into place, so it's not twisting the back or over manipulating the hip extenders, the outside of the hip. And if you want more, take your elbows down towards the floor on the inside of the left foot. Thanks. Now try to turn your back toes under, pick your knee up off the floor as best you can. Take a couple deep breaths. Try to still suck your left hip towards the right, so you're really trying to make the greater leg muscle do more of the work instead of the joint. Bring your knees down, bring your body up, step your left foot back. Good job. Grab a bolster, block, or pillow or whatever, blankets, and have a seat. So have a seat. Have a seat and take both legs wide, but bend the knees so both feet are flat to the floor. What we've been working on, this variation to Kurmasana or tortoise pose, which my hope is by the end of the year, people will be very comfortable working on this pose. So with both feet like that, both sets of toes pointing forward, both hands on the floor just in front of you, and just stretch forward a little bit. Feet are a little too wide there, Miss Rebecca. Pull them in a little and turn your toes forward. You're pretty good, Glenda. Chaya, good. Pratima, nice. Ryan, great. Margaret, can't see you, but you know, you're doing good. You're here. So remember, we've talked about is when you get into these seated poses, you have to help the spine and the folds extend happen not by force of the upper parts down, because that just compresses the joint, but press what's already in the floor. Press your feet harder, press your hips harder, and see if you can extend your spine off of that. Or you can move deeper because of that, because you're using your legs and all those parts to support that body movement. So you get into the hip, you get into the hamstring a little bit. Now, one of the things this pose does is helps lubricate the hip joint so that the knee can learn to sit in the back side of the armpit or even further back. This is important for a lot of different seated poses. You ever see those poses where people put their foot behind their head or their calves on their shoulder and all that stuff? This is all part of that mobility and that movement. It's actually learning how to round and stretch your upper back muscles. And you're going to hear things that you probably don't hear a lot of teachers say in yoga. You got to slouch better. Everyone needs to learn how to slouch again. We all hold ourselves so rigid. You have to be able to pull those front ribs back and broaden and stretch the upper back muscle. So to that end, take your elbows and push them into your calves or the tricep. You can push the muscle. Don't have to bone yourself. Push the arm into the leg, squeeze the leg into the arm, and think about rounding your upper back. Not by shrinking your neck in, but by pulling your core muscle and your front ribs up and back so there's a widening and a stretching of the upper back muscle. If you feel your upper back move a little bit, just drop your shoulders away from your ears so you don't crunch your neck, but broaden and widen across here as much as you can by lifting and pushing the front body into the back. And then stretch down a little deeper if you want. How's that feel? Because what we do is if we hold this upper part too rigid, we never actually get the mobility to pull this knee, regardless of how flexible the hip is, back to the back side of the arm. I'll show you, like in tortoise pose, you don't get to full tortoise pose unless your upper back rounds a lot. You don't get to a lot of the different twists or up leg lifted actions without rounding of the upper back. This doesn't mean you slouch, but it's an active stretch and widening of that muscle. Mr. Angar is very clear in that in all his pictures. She says it feels really good in her QLs and hip. One of the reasons our low back and our muscles in our hip get really tight is because our upper back's too locked. We need to stretch and move it more. This is a good way to do so. Good. Take your arms slightly to the outside of each leg and grab your big toes. So your arms just kind of laying on top of the shin mostly. Tristan's doing a good job of demoing. Pull on your toes and stretch your elbows wider. Yeah, use your elbows pulling out wide to move your body in the pose a little bit. And then take a breath and pull your front body to your back body as your arms pull you down. So you're using your arms to stretch all this tight back muscle from your mid back all the way through your armpit latissimus dorsi through your shoulder. How's that feel, Tris? Yeah. Intense but good for Tristan. So elbows pull wide. Keep bending your elbows, Pratima. There you go. Let your elbows lift up a little just to remind you it's not in your neck, it's in your shoulder blades. Bring them up. There. Breathe. A little bit left. Good. Exhale, bring your body up. Whew. You okay? Bring your feet together, stretch both legs straight in front of you, and Dandasana. Head of bent staff. Dandasana, thighs together, shoulder over hips, L shape. You're going to bend your right knee, pull your foot towards your hip so your right foot is flat to the floor. Take your right arm to the inside of the leg. Just take your elbow for now. Don't twist yet, but just kind of pause here and feel this pose. Because when you press the elbow into the knee and the knee into the elbow, if you notice your shoulder blade on your back, your right shoulder blade widens. It can either go up or it can go out, like towards the knee. Widen your right shoulder blade towards the knee and let your back widen. Like, don't even move, try not to even move your spine, but just stretch your shoulder blade away from the spine as hard as you can. So you feel that muscle between your shoulder blade and your spine move. Contrast. Then keep that. Now slide your elbow farther past your knee. Your spine might move a little bit, but try to keep your upper body facing forward and just stretch that elbow past that knee as far as you can. I kept doing this until I could get to the back of my armpit. It's not just moving your body forward. You got to really stretch that elbow out and then push that arm into that leg and then twist, but always moving the shoulder blade away from the spine out. Good. Feel that now? Feels a little different because when you stretch here first, when you widen the upper back, your upper back widens and comes forward a little bit. Keep your head up, but that widening of your upper back feels like a slouch. In reality, it's not. Back muscle, when it stretches, it widens and almost lifts. It's normal. We got out the book and looked at pictures of Mr. Anger. He's very rounded in his upper back. His head's up, but he's letting that upper back muscle go wide and stretching. Slide your elbow away from your armpit more, not by leaning your chest forward. That moves your armpit. Try to find the back muscle that stretches the elbow farther away. There you go. Take a breath and untwist. Switch your legs. Bend that left knee in, foot flat. Start with your chest facing forward. Don't lean your chest into this. That's cheating. Start by finding that back muscle and sliding that arm from that back muscle widening. Feel how much you can move your upper back without twisting your spine. And then once you're really deep into it, then push the arm into the leg and twist harder. But your action is always moving as much of the muscle that's under the shoulder blade away from the spine so the elbow moves, and then twisting. So keep sliding that elbow past your knee, Rebecca. There you go. Ooh, look at that. Now I can see your back muscles are working now. The reason I'm emphasizing you doing this is to get the rigidity and straightness of your back to move. Because a lot of the seated poses I have intent for us working on, Krimasana, tortoise pose, and a couple others that I'll share with you as time goes. It asks of us not just to have open hips, but to have an open mobility of our back, to not hold our spine so rigid that it cannot move to the adjustment of our hip, and vice versa. Right? At no point did Mr. Angar said there's rigidity in the spine, right? That guy would have freaked out if someone told him that was the right way to hold your spine rigid. But what do we do all the time? We hold our spine rigid. So worried about posture and so little care for health. Untwist. All right. Switch your legs again. So now your right knee is bent, but take your left elbow to the outside of your right knee. So Bhattavajasana instead of Maritrasana. So just get the elbow towards the outside of the knee as best you can. It doesn't have to be perfect, but once your elbow's there, use your left hand or back hand to support you. Use your right hand to support you on a block or on the floor. And then pause here. And instead of twisting your spine and then reaching, because that's all compressing, stretch your elbow past the knee again. Go for this widening action. And how much can you make the twist first happen from the width of the upper back and then the strength of the limb pushing? Because if you stretch that limb farther away, if you get that shoulder blade muscle to move first and then twist, you're going to get deeper under the shoulder and into that upper back muscle and still get good work on your hip. Remember, in Bardva, you want to pull that right knee across to the left side. You want to stretch that left arm away from the spine deeper, not by leaning your body, but by going deep into that upper back and stretching it out. I hope some of you are feeling it. I don't know. Chaya feels it. She gives the thumbs up. We need You like little buttons that are like thumbs up or thumbs down and pop up on the screen. Does the class understand? It's gonna be like America's Got Talent. I'm gonna get buzzed off of the teaching stage. All right, untwist. Switch your legs. Left knee bent, right leg straight. Take your right elbow to the outside of the knee. Start fairly close. Don't even make it about how far you can just throw your elbow across, because already that's compressing. Just get the elbow joint there, move the knee across, you know the pose, and then slide the arm. Push the muscle of your back into the pose and then twist. And see how much opens up. It's harder for you, isn't it? So much harder. That's mouse arm. Yeah. Take a few breaths. And then when you think you're twisted, you know, pause, check in. Can you go to your shoulder blade and the muscle under it and push that muscle to the elbow first and then twist? This is how you see people get that knee on the back of their arm here, and then they move their arm around they get to manipulate their arm around the limb in different ways. All from your upper back. It's all your upper back. Your hips are going to move. Trust me, we've been working your hips since I came into the yoga studio 3 freaking years ago, or almost 4 years ago now. Been moving your hips. Now we're moving the other parts. Take a breath. Stretch the arm a little deeper away from the shoulder. There you go. Untwist. Stretch both legs straight. Bend your right knee. Take a hold of your right foot with both hands. Pull your foot up in line with your knee. Push your hips down. Push your left heel down so your spine lifts on the strength of your leg. Now, usually we take the leg up and do the extreme stretch of the west, but what we're doing is we're doing that same thing we've done with our hips, where we're trying to make our upper back movement move the leg better. So just for a moment, keep your spine as hard and tight as you can up, like we've done before. And then try to pull the knee back and see what happens. Pull your knee back past your armpit. Great. So you're here, you're pulling it back, but you're pushing your spine up tall. There's a certain amount of movement. Notice for most of us, including me, the right knee falls to the side and your right lower back starts to get tired real fast. It's fine. Bring your foot back, grab a hold. Now, instead of trying to flatten your spine, push your hips and feet down so your lower back is active and lifted. Take a breath, broaden your upper back, bend your elbows wide so your shoulder blades widen to each arm, and then pull the knee back and see the difference. Talk to my foot this way. Widen the shoulder blades by pulling the elbows out like you're pulling the foot apart. And then pull the knee back. Feel different? Keep your head up, activate your upper back. Now pull your chest forward as you pull your knee back. Woo. Are we aware? Feel your backs now, huh? Upper backs are working now. Now it's not locked into your lower. Now the upper back is doing its part to correctly stabilize. Now, instead of trying to pull your foot to your face, right? We're not doing this. Take your face and your upper body towards your foot. It feels weird, just do it. All right, take a breath, bring your body up, switch legs, left knee bent, grab your left foot, get neutral, lift your lower, push your feet and hips down into the bolster, or down into the ground, so you're lifting the lower spine. Bend the elbows wide. Right hand's pulling on the foot, left hand's pulling on the foot, out. So your upper back broadens, you get the width. You're not trying to hold it rigid and straight. You're letting it round, holding your head up, and then pulling the leg back. Very nice, Reba. Very pretty dog, Reba. Rebecca. Reba. I don't know why I called you Reba, Rebecca. I'm on a yoga high. You just go with it. When you pull that left leg back, try to broaden your elbow. Keep your elbows lifted. Teach your back muscles to stretch, because we can hold it. We can widen our elbows, but hold it straight. Pull your front ribs to your back ribs so you feel that spread that you felt when we were in the modified Karmasana. And then pull your chest towards your foot, your head towards your foot. Take a few breaths. Slowly up you come. Yeah, okay. Bend your right knee, plant your right foot flat to the floor. Both arms reach for your left foot. If you cannot reach your left foot, feel free to use a strap. Ooh, nice, Ryan. Your hamstrings are moving, buddy. It's all these other yoga classes he's going to. Good. Similar action. Now, push your foot, both feet into the floor, push your hips into the bolster, and take a deep breath and pull your front ribs back and bend your elbows a little so you feel like you can pull the shoulder blade away from your spine. So it's like your back body is broadening and stretching over the rib. You're pulling the sheet of muscle over the sturdiness of the rib cage and core. Very nice. Good, Pradima. Pradima, give yourself permission to slouch. There you go. That's it. Just keep your head lifted and your back moving like that. Feel the difference? Yeah, now you're not holding your spine locked. Take a breath, bring your body up, switch legs. Feels good. Right? Where? Your back. Once your left knee's bent, reach forward with your right foot. Push your left foot down, push your right foot down, push both hips down. Take your elbows, bend them just a little. And instead of trying to pull yourself down, pick your front ribs, pick your front muscles up to feel your back body lift. Slouch in your upper back a little. Take that rigidity you think is force out of it and try to pull the shoulder blades away from the spine so you get that work of that upper back moving. Tristan says it's exhausting in the upper back, and it actually should be. Upper back, forward folds become very easy when our upper backs are the one doing most of the work. Some of you who have what I would call diagnosed as chronically tight hamstrings, right? You fight them so much, you might notice your hamstrings let loose pretty easily here. All right. So even though there is some work on them, that lift and broadening the upper back puts more of the work there, and the hamstrings don't have to support the heavy weight of the spine as much. All right, bring your bodies up. Straighten your left leg, bend your right knee. Right knee bent, reach forward with your left hand and grab your left big toe. Left hand, the index middle finger hooks the big toe. Right hand, just grab your right foot any which way you want. I would prefer you grab your right big toe, but you know, do what you gotta do. Pause here. With your right foot on the floor, holding its big toe, left leg out in front of you, holding its big toe. Pull your front ribs back and let your back body broaden. Let the stretch happen to that left side of the body already. And then keep that left side. The left side is your strong side that's going to hold you up. So you need your left back muscle working. Pick your right foot up with your right elbow up and out and broaden that muscle too. So now you're going to use your back muscle to pull on the leg. And pull the foot back like you were drawing the bowstring of an arrow, with an arrow in it. There you go, Ryan. Get that foot up, Pratama. You got a strong leg. Now pull that back, dear. And now take a breath, bend your left elbow a little, and stretch your shoulder blade from your spine. Woo, there you go. Feel that? Nice, Glenda. Good. Chaya. Pick that right foot up, dear. Nice. Switch legs. It's challenging. That's a hard pose. Very good pose. But what you want to be careful of, and I saw a couple of people doing this, I won't name names on this one. When you get your leg up, you kind of lean so hard to your right that you're crunching in a ball to hold your balance. Try to keep pushing the right side into the floor and your right hip down especially, because your right hip pushing down is what will help untilt your body back to the left, surprisingly. You would think that you don't. You want to just push hard to your left, push your right hip down, and that'll tilt your body. And when you pull back, keep the elbows wide, keep that flexed upper back. So when you pull back, you're pulling back with your shoulder muscle rather than your low back. So then you pull the foot up. All right, go to it. Right hand grabs right big toe, left hand grabs left big toe, pick the foot up. Pause, bend your elbows out, flex your upper back. Remember, this is a twist partially, so you want to make the upper back do the stretch first. Stretch the right arm towards the right shoulder blade towards the hand. Stretch your left shoulder blade towards your elbow. And now pull the knee back and let your pelvis and your core body twist, all the while pushing your right hip in the floor, because that's the pivot point. That's the point where the top is spinning. Much better. Get that foot up, Chai. Make that hamstring do some work here. It's hard on that side, huh, Chai? Get that foot up off the floor. You got it. Ah, there you go. Yeah, straighten it out. You can do it. Use a strap, dear. Don't beat yourself up. You would tell your students to use a strap, so your teacher's telling you. Feel the difference one side to the other. If one side's different, the other is probably because you're tighter on that shoulder. I'm proud of it. Now you feel your shoulder, huh? All right, take a breath. Come back down. Lay on the floor. Savasana. Your legs stretched out. Take a few moments to get yourself adjusted, make all the wiggles, all the twists. Don't just cope with something. Take 2 minutes to get ready for a really amazing Savasana rather than 10 seconds of getting ready and a meh. Savasana meh. Eyes closed. Flex the jaw. What did you find about you today? What's the positive thing that you need to say to yourself? What's the negative thing that you want to initially say to yourself? Which one are you going to believe? The yoga texts talk about, regardless of your faith, just using this example, the connection to this greater oneness or power. Mr. Iyengar would say God, other teachers would say spirit or Akashic record, or whatever your faith or belief or choice of things are. But there is some, in yoga's idea, we're already connected. We already are a part of this great big thing. This thing that is something wondrous, peace, things like that. But there's all this stuff in the way, it feels like. Yoga teaches us that we're already connected to that. We don't have to earn being loved or being good or being worthy. I think the thing we're here doing right now is we're learning to take those things that are not truths out of the way. If we are peace, if we're connected already to peace, we were born of it, created of it, or love, or strength, or power, or confidence, or whatever, then not believing that is a lie. So when you do your practice, my friends, in this quiet next couple moments, what is the thing you want to tell yourself that's a negative? All right, I'm not good enough. I'm too lazy. Whatever feeling that is a negative on yourself. And then what's the positive thing that the practice encourages you to believe, to look at, to know about yourself, to the bedrock of you, who are you? Yoga doesn't give us that peace. That's who we are. It just shows us that we were believing a lie before. The lie that we couldn't, the lie that we aren't something. So my friends, with each deep breath in, slow breath out. Rest for a moment or two. Connect to you. And enjoy the fruits of your yogic practice.